Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Maristani, and this is the legendary Rickey Medlocke. That's right, the lead guitarist for Lynyrd Skynyrd, the Hall of Famer, the gentleman that does the incredible solo in Freebird, the one and only. He's here with us today, thankfully as a friend and as a patient. So he has been in the world of anti-aging and functional medicine for over a decade now, and I was lucky enough to inherit him from Dr. David Perlmutter's practice about 6 years ago. And today I wanted him to tell the world about stem cell therapies and how these actually really helped him a lot. And so, as a background for a moment, I'm a traditionally trained internal medicine physician who then got certified through the Institute for Functional Medicine, that's Cleveland Clinic vetted. And so what we do is we try to find the underlying cause for disease. We try to supplement traditional medicine. So when traditional medicine fails, we try to step in and try to do something better. It's an experimental field. There's only about 1,200 doctors in the world that do this. And in this field, we're looking at potential stem cell therapies, which are still not FDA approved in the United States, but in other countries, they are approved in certain studies. So some of my patients will ask me, where can I go or where can they go? So Rickey had a similar situation. I'm going to let him tell his story and how he ended up getting stem cells, and then we'll go from there. So Rickey, we love the fact you're here. We love your music. You're a legend, and we would love to hear your side of the story.
Well, I appreciate you having me on this, Dr. Maristani. I owe you a lot to my health. Actually, I owe you and quite a few others, my health and for getting me this far in my life. Just celebrated my 75th birthday this past February. And you know what? My story kind of begins when I was born. I supposedly was born with a spot on my lungs, and which actually, according to medicine back then, and you got to take into consideration medicine then. This was in the 50s, so a lot of harsh X-rays, a lot of extensive stays in hospitals. They finally found, while I was kind of short of breath, they found that I had a growth around my windpipe. And the way the doctors explained it at the time, when a child is born, it has a lot of blood vessels that spread out among the body and never cause any harm. They're just there. Well, as it happens, a pretty major blood vessel wrapped around my windpipe and started to harden over time and get bigger and bigger to where it was cutting off my air supply. Well, at the time they did the surgery, they went in, made a really extensive incision over on my left side. And they found it. They had to go in through this way, and which they ended up clipping the vein that gives you your pulse in your arm. Actually, I have a very, very weak pulse in my left arm. I actually had to learn to use my left hand again in my left arm due to that. And through an older woman in the hospital, and here I'm a child at 9 years old, 9.5.
Yeah.
She worked with me. I'd already started playing guitar, and I'd been playing banjo before that. So I had to learn to use my left arm and hand all over again. I came out of this thing still with the lung issue. So the first thing they think about doing, let's put him on antibiotics. I took massive doses of penicillin.
Sure. Yeah.
I would go every once in a while. The doctor would have me come in and get a penicillin shot. And if you've ever had a penicillin shot, you can pretty well understand what that feels like.
I heard it.
And to a kid, it just rips you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After the penicillin wasn't working, along comes a new antibiotic called tetracycline. They put me on tetracycline, 250 milligrams 4 times a day. It ended up discoloring my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
All kind of side effects to it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be really honest with you, I really feel like right now, as I think about it, it made me worse. It didn't do no good. It did not stop whatever was going on with me. Well, they finally said and figured out, after a lot of blood work and a lot of blood tests and hospital stays, so forth and so on, that I had bronchiectasis.
Right.
And so about in the 70s, I was living up in New Jersey, and I had a very, very bad bout of where I hemorrhaged from one of my lungs.
Alveolar hemorrhage.
Yeah. So almost to where I almost strangled to death. But the gal that I was married to at the time got me to the hospital, and they coagulated everything. They stopped it. I stayed for a time, and then a lung specialist came in and said, I want to operate to see what's going on in there, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I refused it. After being cut on, 10 years before, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So what I did was I pulled back on ever taking tetracycline.
Right.
I stopped taking when I got to be about, I don't know, maybe 28, 29 years old. I stopped taking it completely.
So you were taking antibiotics straight the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So what I did, my manager at the time was seeing a nutritionist named Dr. Zerbo up in Detroit.
Okay.
And Al, my manager, says, Rickey, I want to take you to see Dr. Zerbo, and I want you to listen to him. Okay. So I go to see Dr. Zerbo, and the first thing Dr. Zerbo says to me, what supplements are you on? And I went, none, I mean, I didn't know really about supplements and what they did for you, which to me, when I finally figured it out, wait a minute, the supplements I'm taking back then, they're actually food exactly. The benefits of real food, good food, pure food,
right,
that I'm not getting.
Right.
So Dr. Zerbo started me on vitamin C. He said, Rickey, let me explain to you about Dr. Paulus and vitamin C. And he started explaining it to me. But he also put me on vitamin C, he also put me on zinc, he also put me on vitamin A. And there was all these supplements that I was religious on.
You wanted to boost your immune system with vitamin C.
Exactly. Because he said, if you don't, as much as you are out here going around the country, you need to, especially what you got,
right?
You need to keep that immune system up and keep it unbelievably strong.
And at what age did you start touring? At what age?
Oh my gosh, when I was a teenager.
So when you
got to understand, I played with my dad's country music band for quite a while.
Got it.
I was on the road with him. He took me and my mom. He took us on the road with him back in the 50s.
That's amazing.
And so I was raised on the road.
And you never smoked?
I never, no. And here's the thing. I figured out very early in my life that never to start smoking.
Right.
I had a doctor tell me back after the surgery, he told me after I got healed up, he goes, the one thing that I can say to you right now, never ever put a cigarette or anything in your mouth and smoke.
Yeah.
And I never did. So
thank God.
Well, yes. So fast forward up when I quit taking the antibiotics and I started listening to Dr. Zerbo, and that brought me along incredibly. I was religious on taking supplements just like I am today.
Yep.
And when you look at me, here I am, a guy, probably I got this condition, and everybody goes, how in the world do you sing? And you go all over the stage like that.
Yep.
And I said, it started with a Dr. Zerbo, it went to a Dr. David Perlmutter, and now it's with Dr. Eduardo Maristani. I said, those are my three musketeers.
That's right.
I said, those guys, I owe everything, my health, my condition, I owe it all to. And I mean, when I caught COVID, everybody in my group and my family, they were all flipping out. They were flipping out.
Yeah.
Because they knew.
Yeah. If you have structural lung disease, your risk is super high.
So,
yeah.
I got to tell you, Eddie, and I've said this to so many people before that, through your connections and whatever, you saved my life on that because I was scared to death on it, but I wasn't letting anybody know.
Yeah. Well, all I knew is when Rickey said, hey, I got COVID, I said, next phone call was, how can I get you monoclonal antibodies in the next 5 hours?
Yes.
You pulled into that urgent care in the middle of the night. They opened it for you. You got the monoclonal antibodies, and honestly, you didn't have symptoms yet, but I knew they were coming, and I think we just nipped it in the butt, shut it down right away. In conjunction with that, we used a lot of supplements and things that we did what we had to do. We used all the research. I don't want to get into that right now either, but everything we threw at you, I know because you barely had a symptom.
Yeah.
You were really sick, and you had a bad strain. You didn't have the mild strain. You had the nasty strain. I think you had the alpha variant.
Yes, I did.
Which was nasty. And that's when people, my friends in the ICU were calling me saying, "Hey, everyone in the hospital is hospitalized." And were you vaccinated? You were not, right?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. So you were not vaccinated, putting you in even higher risk potential. And so we threw the kitchen sink at you. Thank God you did better. But so first of all, I'm glad we got you over that. But backtracking, talk to me a little bit about your inhaler use. When did you start using inhalers? How much did you need? How often do you use it? Just right now you're doing so much better.
First of all, I think it was Dr. David Perlmutter got me on. The first inhaler I ever used was a really strict steroid, which is called Advair.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And
yep.
That's a pretty potent inhaler.
Yeah.
I didn't really like using that. It was like too much, I felt, for me.
Yeah, because it has a steroid. It has a long.
Well, then I changed over to, I think it was Pamela Hughes, changed me over to the one I'm using now, Delira. And it's a mild, and this is what's so cool to think about. Here I am doing what I do, but the one thing that I ended up starting on through David was, it was called D-Hist at first.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going to put you on D-Hist. When you get to where you feel a little tight, take a D-Hist and you'll probably be okay. So he started me on D-Hist. Sure enough, I mean, I'd start to feel a little tight and I'd go, I'll take a D-Hist. And the next thing you know, it eased up. And then if I needed the Advair, I had that But going over to the Dulira, I still take, which is called Allerq now, is a supplement.
Right.
And for all you singers out there, if you see this, me and Stacy rely on Allerq before we ever hit the stage because it opens you up and you get the air that you need to sing, the breath intake, the whole bit. So what I do going on stage, I'll take an Allerq before we go on, an hour before we go on. I might take a hit of the Dulira just as extra, an extra precaution, whatever.
Sure.
And I'm golden.
Right.
From then on.
Right.
So the Dulira to me is a mild enough inhaler, and that shows me it's mild and I don't need it as often. So the protocol that you and I are on, that you got me on, is really working.
Yeah, and just to clarify for everyone, so DHIST is basically a combination of things that reduce histamine, like quercetin, things like that.
Yes.
So by reducing histamine, you'll open up your airways and your lungs and your nose. You'll be able to sing better.
Yes.
That's a natural approach. But on top of that, the inhalers are going to open up your lungs as well. I think it's really important for the audience to hear that you basically were using this inhaler 4 times a day and still feeling such shortness of breath that you were on a farewell tour basically years ago.
Yes.
And then in 2018, something magical happened. And now you barely use the inhaler, maybe once a day, and you have no retirement in sight, and you're still touring and still performing. That's what I want people to hear about, because that's the magic sauce. So tell us about 2018. I know you went outside of the country. I know you had some type of stem cell therapy. I know I wasn't there, so I can't really talk too much about it. But you know exactly what you got, or approximately what you got.
I got a very, I was able to go and get a very low dosage of stem cells.
Got it.
And let me tell you what happened. I got it, and almost immediately, no coughing, a lot of energy, freedom of breath.
Yep.
The air, it's interesting, the air even seemed cleaner when I would inhale. And you got to understand, I'm big into, and I've just started back, as a matter of fact, today. I love the gym.
Yeah.
Rickey's always loved the gym, whether I go 15 minutes or 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know something? Because I really believe, and I believe in the physical. Listen, I get a lot of cardio on stage.
Yeah.
Boy, do I.
I've seen it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So doing a little bit of workout with weights and stuff like that to keep myself going.
Oh yeah.
Is all worth its weight in gold. Okay. I believe that the stem cells, for me, okay, I believe that the stem cells really around 2018 or whatever, I believe they had me turn a corner.
Yeah.
And show me the advantages to a human being that has serious illnesses.
Correct.
Whatever they might be. If it's lungs, heart, liver, kidneys, whatever, joints.
Yeah.
I believe that it's a big benefit, Eddie.
Yeah.
And I also believe that, in my opinion, in the future, I believe this is the future of medicine. Yeah. I do.
And just so that, we talked about this, but we estimate that you got a low dose, like maybe 100,000 placental derived or cord derived MSC stem cells, maybe 75 to 100,000.
Maybe at that.
Because based on the price that you paid and what you had told me, I'm assuming it was that.
Yeah.
Well, what we know is you got an IV, first of all. We know
Yes.
first place that stem cells go is guess where?
It goes to wherever the inflammation
Well,
and the chronic
well,
disease is.
that's the second place. Actually,
Yeah.
first place, which I didn't know, is the lungs.
Yes.
Because
You
think
told me
about it,
that.
all the blood that's venous has to go through the lungs.
Exactly.
And it goes to the rest of the body. So actually, there's been a lot of stem cell experts saying, hey, when you give someone hundreds and hundreds of millions of stem cells, you're just wasting it. It's all going to the lungs. And then someone else disproved that theory and said, no, it gets held in the lungs like a holding tank, and then
Right.
goes everywhere else in the body that's required, like you said. So it does
Correct.
go to the point of inflammation. But since your point of inflammation was the lungs, and it happened to go there right away. That's my
Yep.
theory as to why only that small dose made a huge difference. And here you are, literally 6, 7 years later, and you're still reaping the benefits. And that blows my mind. And what'd you pay? Was it super cheap? It wasn't expensive.
It was
Couple $1,000.
I think it was what, $3,000
Yeah,
or
it was
something.
nothing. And so what
Yeah.
I'm thinking now is what, okay, so, in all transparency, what would happen if we enrolled you in a study in a country where we can get you 100 million cloned cord cells, FDA approved US facility, creating the whole thing? I mean, what would happen to your lungs then? And that's what I'm really excited. We might want to do a part two
Yes.
because I think you're going to go, holy mother of God, this is so much better now. And so,
You
yeah.
you might see a 17-year-old Batman sitting in front of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I think it's crazy because I remember, I mean, are you still on the farewell tour, technically?
No, just in brief,
Okay.
because everybody asks that question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When COVID happened, it shut us down for a year and a half, and we left. We had 60, I think it was 64 shows booked in 2020.
Got it.
We did the first two, so we had 62 shows that the people had bought tickets. We had a lot of sold out shows coming up. So what we figured was when the country opened back up, Gary, who has now since passed away with heart disease, passed away 2 years ago. Gary said, "Look, we can't do this. We can't leave people hanging. They love the music so much, and they've been so loyal to the band.
Oh yeah.
Listen, let's go back out and call it the Big Wheels Keep on Rolling tour." And so, like in Sweet Home Alabama,
That's
big
right.
wheels keep on turning.
Exactly.
So
Yep, yep.
we went back out, and then things happened with Gary. And Gary always expressed that he never wanted the music to fade with him, that he wanted us to stay on course, take it to the people, let the people come out and enjoy themselves and enjoy the music. Because honestly, the music is the important thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that music is so iconic.
Oh yeah.
And like this past weekend was our first show out with Kid Rock on his
Nice.
Rock in the Country festivals.
Yeah.
And then we played Austin, Texas
Yeah.
for that festival there called the Two Step In Festival.
Oh yeah.
And let me tell you something. When you looked at the audience in Austin in that festival with Kid Rock, you're talking 30, 35,000, 40,000 people.
That's awesome.
Well, supposedly, I mean, I don't know, but we like to think that we did incredible. That show in Austin, they're claiming we stole it. And when you got to go behind Lynyrd Skynyrd, you're following Alabama and Freebird.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, you guys are killing it.
So you know what? I love the fact that we can go out and we can still command what we do. We got great people in the band. Gary wanted the name Lynyrd Skynyrd to continue, and a lot of people, I was in the original band. I was in the affordable when the band formed.
That's right.
I was one of the original drummers of the band.
That's right.
So, Johnny is the original singer's younger brother.
Correct.
And so, Johnny and I are the front guys there now, and we feel it is Lynyrd Skynyrd. You can call it what you want, but that's what we do. And as long as people in the band can keep their health, then I feel it will continue. It will go forward.
100%. No, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. We're here. I mean, honestly, when I first heard that you were using inhaler 4 or 5 times a day, I was concerned. I was like, can he continue going at this pace? I mean, your Freebird solo is insane. It is a workout. I mean, just watching you up there, it's almost 5 minutes, right? You're just killing it. And so, the point is, I wanted to make sure that we could keep your lungs going, keep your energy going.
Yeah.
And now you tell me you have inhalers piling up in your closet. You don't even remember that
Yeah.
you use them
Yeah.
once in a while. You're like, yeah, I use it almost as precaution just to make sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. And the fact that, I'm sorry, but bronchiectasis, so everyone knows, it's basically like mucus plugging. And yeah, it's probably because of all the childhood trauma and all the things that happen in pneumonias and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a form of COPD, but like you didn't smoke, right? So, but those things typically get worse, not better. In fact, everyone knows that if you have COPD or emphysema or bronchiectasis, it gets worse every year, every year, every year. And then yet I mean, you still have some symptoms, you still have some cough, you still have some whatever, but you're performing at such a high level, you're barely using your inhaler, you feel better than you ever have, and all it was from a measly $2,000 or $3,000 stem cell infusion. Are you kidding me? So like that's where we're so excited, saying, where's this going to go? Where's the future going, right? Where is the deregulation going to happen? I heard a story, I don't know if it's real, but that in July of this year, 2025, stem cells may become or unregulated in Florida. Therefore, we can start using it, which would be massive. Now, this would be obviously under studies, under IRB studies, but the fact that we could use stem cells in the United States, that would make a huge difference, And by the way,
Well,
yeah, I wanted to mention that your wife, by the way, I wanted to plug your wife for a second. So Stacy, you'll know this, but your wife, who is right now one of the main singers for Lynyrd Skynyrd, was also singing for Kid Rock for years. So she's an
yes.
incredible talent. So whenever I see you guys together, I'm like, man, you guys are both incredible. You're both amazing singers. And I just think it's nuts. It's great.
Well, something, I think that for me, once I get a dosage that we've been speaking about,
Yeah.
I know one thing. I want to stay on it. I want to stay, maybe let a year go by on a yearly basis. Just make that a medical practice. Make that a medical deal, a regular deal. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I believe that what I got. It's funny. My daughter just asked me because she's so concerned. Of course, she's 33 now, and she's so concerned about my condition.
Of course.
And, she just asked me here, what was it, yesterday or a couple of days ago? Dad, what are you going to do when this thing takes its toll on you? And I went, wait a minute, you don't understand. What you're not understanding is, honey, is that I'm plugged into some of the best knowledge and some of the best people in Florida that you can see. I mean, she's heard me talk about you a ton. I mean, a ton.
And it's not just the people in Florida. It's these stem cell companies they're working with all over the world.
Yes.
They're in Greece, Sweden, Japan. I mean, they're everywhere. And a lot of these companies out of the United States, out of Colorado, creating these stem cell companies, they're the ones that they're actually manufacturing stem cells, and they put them in cryoports, and they send them to other countries where we're doing the clinical data and clinical studying. Because a lot of these countries are more friendly for stem cell studies, like Greece, like Japan, like Thailand, like the Bahamas. There's a lot of places you can go. You do the stem cell studies a lot easier. And, for example, I was just talking to the owner of one of these companies recently, and they just did their 980th patient through the FDA, submitting all of them to the FDA, 0 adverse events. Stem cells are so safe. and they're so effective for so many diseases. It's a miracle that they even exist. It's just accessing them, getting them is half the battle. Knowing where to go, making sure you get a real, like, quality control product to make it
Yes.
safe. Because I've heard stories of patients that go to Mexico, they get a deal, and they get sick, they get septic, they literally end up in the hospital. One patient got something called DIC, which disseminated intravascular coagulation, where they got clots all over the body. He almost lost his arms and legs from this. So
Oh,
just make sure that you have a reputable company that's actually doing quality control, because these stem cells have to be kept at very cold temperatures, like negative 20
right.
Celsius. They have to be monitored for quality control for viruses, for bacteria. But if you get an FDA approved company, of course, they're doing that. So the point is, like you said, I think this is the future of medicine. And I'm very excited to do a part two with you. And the
Yes.
last thing I want to ask you, so we're going to hopefully get you stem cells in about a month and a half, and then we're going to do part two. Is that a goal? Is that a gold record behind you?
That's several.
I was going to say, oh, that is awesome, man. That is very cool. That is a great background.
I will show you something
Yeah,
I'm very proud of,
yeah.
but I mean, I've got a bunch, but this one here,
Oh, wow.
if you can look at it and see it,
That's like 12 gold records. What is that?
well, it's actually one, two, three, four, five, six platinums,
Oh,
and it's to commemorate at that time
wow.
was to commemorate 32 million copies of Lynyrd Skynyrd sold. So,
Oh my God, that's insane. That's yeah, your success is
but
epic.
we have
Yeah,
I'm very blessed and I'm very fortunate that
yeah,
I've been able to do what I've done in my life,
yeah, yeah,
and we got a beautiful home here in Florida,
yeah.
in Fort Myers. And you know what, man? Life is good. Life is
Amen.
very good.
And dude, you're 74 going on 25, baby.
I'm 75 going on 17.
That's it, man. And we're gonna keep you there. We're gonna keep you healthy and strong. And thank
Yeah,
you
man.
for doing this. We're gonna keep everyone, informed and motivated. And God bless you, man. God bless America.
God bless you too, man.
Thank you so much, man.
You got it, Eddie. And look here.
Yeah.
It's not going to be hard for me to remember your anniversary because that's my birth month.
Yeah.
And so when your anniversary rolls around now, I've made it my goal. I've set it in my head. Every anniversary, you're going to get a special gift.
Well,
You and Sierra.
yeah, you already gave me an awesome gift. You gave us an amazing gift.
Well,
there's
there's going to be a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4. So
Oh,
don't worry.
Well, we will thank you and great. Those are great blessings. We love that. So thank you so much. And ahead of time, thank you again. But listen, you've been awesome, and stay healthy, stay motivated, and keep rocking.
You bet.
We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.